Well, it's a long time since I've been here. I'm actually down at Brooklands Lake in Dartford, and I don't know when the last time I fished here was, but the important thing is this was actually where I caught my very first carp, and it's 50 years ago this week. You know, it's the kids' half term and it's Monday morning, and that was the exact day I caught my very first carp all those years ago. And so yeah, I've come back to reminisce about that and yeah, try and catch another one just to yeah, celebrate that 50 years of carp fishing. It seems strange to talk about it, hard to believe it's 50 years, but it is. And the swim I caught that first one from all those years ago looks like it's empty, and yeah, I've just spoken to the bailiff, really nice guy, so I've got my ticket, and he was saying, yeah, a couple of days ago there was a fish caught from the old sink swim, which is where I'm heading. So yeah, without further ado, I'll get my gear on the barrow and get round there. Well, this is it. This is the old sink swim. Funny enough, apart from not having the sink in the swim anymore, it don't actually look a lot different. It's been built up a little bit here, but here we are. So, right, I'm going to try and catch one. It's hard to believe it's 50 years ago that I was sitting in this exact spot and catching my first carp. You know, it really is. It almost seems like I'm talking about someone else, another lifetime ago. Well, going back a couple of months earlier to the Christmas, I mean, a lot of you will probably know the old Slade song, Merry Christmas Everyone, the old Slade Christmas song. Well, that had actually just been released that Christmas and was #1 for the first time. Yeah, that Christmas I got my first set of carp rods, which was, you know, really important sort of moment in my carp fishing life. Obviously, I'd been fishing for a couple of years for carp, or trying to catch one for a couple of years before that, just using like ledger rods and float rods, whatever I could sort of get my hands on, really. You know, I mean, carp rods were just a little bit beyond what I could afford. Thing was, there were a lot of good anglers fishing here at the time. You know, people from all around the country would come down to Brooklands, you know, because it was a lake with decent fish, and there weren't many in the country at that time with 20-pounders in numbers, and Brooklands was one of those. So people used to come here, and you know, it attracted a lot of good anglers. It was the protein sort of bait boom, so you know, a lot of them had protein baits that were really good, really expensive though, so I couldn't afford them. But yeah, it was also a very secretive time, so those guys wouldn't tell us what they were using, well, you know, what baits, what ingredients, and even if they had, you know, I wouldn't have been able to afford them. You know, my £1 a week pocket money, I could stretch to yeah, a tin of lunch meat, 1 tin of lunch meat per week. So if I did the Saturday and the Sunday, I mean, I'd never fished a night back then, you know, it was only day fishing, and yeah, so a tin of lunch meat literally had to last me all weekend for 2 days fishing. So as you can imagine, it was pretty much sort of single bait fishing back then. But that's how it was, you know, didn't know much different. You just got on with it and tried to catch one. It was amazing the amount of young kids that were here back then. You know, I was one of them. Obviously, I wasn't even a teenager when I started fishing here. But people like Steve Abbott, Chris Theobald, Mick Curly Hatchman, Les Montgomery and Colin Peskett, Paul Golds, who used to fish with, Kev Covington, Andy Cogger, who sadly we lost recently, John Stubberfield, who had the best setup you'd ever seen. He had the best of everything, and it always looked immaculate. Little Nigel Botchell, Steve Fisher, you know, he always used to fish down by the bridge and caught loads of good fish there. Yeah, so there we go. There's probably there is loads that I've missed out and forgotten names or whatever, but you could always come down here on a weekend and there would be a gang of us here, all having a bit of fun, all trying to catch a carp. Some of us succeeding, and some of us, you know, it took a little bit longer, but there we go. It took me 2 years to catch my first carp, you know, and when you're that young, sort of, well, I was 12 when I caught my first one, so you imagine I started trying to catch one when I was 10, really. So 2 years to catch my first one back in those days, that's a lot of time, and it seemed a long time. It seemed like I was never going to catch one. Well, we certainly never had all this years ago, and we could have done with it. Them silly old bed chairs we used to use, and wafer thin sleeping bags, and then we got power packs and electric blankets and lovely warm comfortable beds. Honestly, carp anglers these days don't know how easy they've got it. I can appreciate it because we went through them tough times years ago. It's luxury now. It really is, it's luxury, and why not? So this was it, all those years ago. This was where I caught my very first carp, and the story really started the day before, because I was down here on the Sunday with Don Llewellyn, who was an old character of the lake back then, but I liked Don, and spent a fair bit of time with him over the previous year or two. Always used to save him a swim, and on the Sunday I saved him like the sink swim. We could double up in here, so he was on the right, I was on the left, and that day he caught a 17-pound mirror, and yeah, God, you know, blown away by it. It was just a lovely big mirror carp back in those days. I had half term coming up and was going to be back the next day with a school friend, Grumps. My dad was going to pick Grumps up at Bexley Heath Clock Tower and drop us both off here at the lake on the Monday morning. So I said to Don on the Sunday, if you've got any luncheon meat left, because that was always in short supply, there was a hollow tree just on the back sort of side of this swim here. I said, can you leave the luncheon meat in the tree and it'll be there the next day, because I'm going to fish here again with Grumps. So sure enough, I think about 7 o'clock or something, Dad dropped us both off. We made our way down here. Sure enough, a little paper bag in the tree, and you know, with the luncheon meat in it. So yeah, we started fishing, and it was about mid-morning, I suppose, about 10 o'clock, and I had a lift on. It was the yellow bottle tops back in those days. You'll see about the old school stuff, the yellow bottle tops, no alarms or anything like that then, and it just sort of lifted up halfway, and I remember saying to it, go on my son, go on. And sure enough it did. It went all the way to the top, which was a surprise in itself. And then it was an even bigger surprise when I sort of struck and there was a fish on the other end, because there were so many times in the previous couple of years where I just picked up the rod and there'd be nothing there, or you know. So it was that was the first surprise, that it was actually a fish on the end. And then I started to play it, and I can remember it fairly well. You know, I remember it coming up to the surface and boiling up out there, and you know, the excitement. Well, you can imagine what the excitement was like. You know, I've been trying for 2 years, and you know, it gradually came all the way into the net, and it was hard to describe the feeling as it went over the net. I saw it go over the net, and it was almost like, well, this was something that had never happened before. You know, it was almost like a look of disbelief, because I'd actually got this one. It hadn't fell off, I hadn't lost it, it had gone in the net, and I'd got it. I'd got a carp. And yeah, it was one of those magic moments in your life that you never forget. And I know it's 50 years ago, you know, it's etched into my brain. It really is. And there was a guy just walking down the bank at that time. I forget his last name, but Ray, his name was. He was a bit older than us, but he was a nice guy, and he sort of helped us out. You know, he helped us weigh it and do what we had to do. You know, and then I photographed it. And of course, in them days, you know, you used to have to photograph a fish and then take your pictures in a film canister into boots or whatever, and wait for it to be developed. Well, about 4 or 5 days later, got my pictures back, and I was gutted, because, well, basically there was a disaster. None of them came out. There was one where you just see a shadowy figure of me. You know, you can't see what the fish is like, and to this day I'm gutted about that. I really am. You can imagine, I waited all that time for my first carp, and all I wanted was a picture of it, and I never got one. So there we go. But you know, it was a magic moment. It really was. And yeah, even though it is 50 years ago, it happened in this very spot where I'm sitting, and yeah, the memories burn very bright. They really do. Yeah, happy days. That was a happy day, that one. Well, it's early. It's about 5:30, I think. But yeah, people are walking past already, going to work, I suppose. It's got me up anyway. But yeah, I think, well, I'm definitely going to have a move quite soon. I've got the kettle on, going to have a cup of tea. It was a quiet night. I think the fish that were about have moved off. I had a tench in the night about 2 o'clock. Frightened the life out of me. Good take actually, but yeah, tench. So yeah, probably what I'm going to do is go on the lake behind me over to the old dead tree swim, which was a good winter swim all those years ago, so I'm going to give that a go. So I'm just going to have a cup of tea, get the barrow out, and get loaded up and get on the move. And still got plenty of time, not halfway through the session yet, so got plenty of time, and hopefully can nab a fish or two over there. Right, let's have a cup of tea and get moving. Well, I've made the move, and it was all a bit of a rush because it started raining. I'm in the right sort of area, I think, so we'll give this a go today and see what happens. If it looks good, I can do the night here. If it doesn't look so good, I can make another move. So, you know, there's plenty of options anyway. I've flicked one just round the back of a tree, single pop up with a few boilies and a bit of corn and a bit of pellet around it, just a little mixture. The other one, I'm just going to do a solid bag, and yeah, I've got just a citrus wafter on there and a little short hook length, little inline, and yeah, just a mixture of pellets, crushed boilies, a couple of whole boilies, and a few maggots in there as well. So yeah, I'm going to sling that out there now and see if that'll catch me a carp. Yeah, a little mirror. That's not a bad one. So I'd got myself a Brooklands carp, which was brilliant. What I didn't realise at the time was that I'd pressed the mute button on the microphone, and so there was no sound. Would you believe, 50 years I've had to get this right. Still can't do it right. But I'd got one. I just hoped that I'd get another one and yeah, get a bit of sound with that. Yeah, I don't actually think it's a bad move coming down here. It was obviously really nice to go back in the swim where I caught my first carp all those years ago. But when I look back over the years, I never actually caught that many fish from that swim. You know, the first one was always going to be special, but after that, it's hard to think of many fish I actually caught from there. Only a little handful, whereas this swim where I've moved to now was always a swim with good winter form. It's the old dead tree swim, you know, that was what it was called years ago. I don't know, it's probably still the same now, I don't know. But I had some decent results in here over the years, and, you know, and especially in the winter time, February, sort of late January, February into March. You know, it was a time where you could get in here and the fish used to hold up out there. It used to be known for, you know, holding fish in the winter time. So, you know, here we are in February. You know, maybe all these years later it's still the same situation. You know, it's still a decent holding area. We will see. Lovely. Nice dark old one. Lovely. They've got so much energy this time of year. Great, isn't it? Nice bit of February action. That's what we want. Come here for a bit of action and, well, yeah, I've got it. So there we go. Right. Let's get him back. I literally just cast that bag out and this rod's gone off. A burst of action. I mean, literally, I've only just put a fish back and got a bag on that one. Just cast it out. Proper scrappers, these fish. There we go. Yeah, chunky one, nice one. Well, it's all getting a little bit hectic. Oh, beautiful that, isn't it? What a lovely fish. God, they did half scrap. I mean, they're well fit and healthy, these fish, and yeah, in their winter colours, and well, he could be called single scale when he gets bigger. Got a nice big single scale in the middle of his flank there. But yeah, what a cracker. I will just weigh it because well, I'll tell you what, there was a reason for weighing that, because I thought that looks a bit bigger than the 14-pounder I had earlier. And believe it or not, he weighs 16.25 pounds, and that's the exact weight of the first carp that I caught 50 years ago yesterday. And well, one of my dreams was obviously to come down here and fish it again, fish the same swim which I've done, and now the dead tree swim, but also to catch a fish. And ultimately I thought what I'd really like is to catch a 16.25, because this is the exact same size as that first carp I caught all them years ago. You know, what a really, really nice moment. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, a 16-pounder might not seem much these days, but yeah, that really means a lot. It really does. Just one more there, fantastic. That was worth coming back for alone. 50 years on, and here we are, still catching 16 pounds. Fantastic. I've been getting liners on this rod for quite a while, and I was wondering if I was fishing too far out, but there we go, it's hammered off with this one on, so yeah, who knows, it might be a busy night, but yeah, there we go. Another fish to the tally anyway, another Brooklands mirror. There we go, a nice Brooklands common, made a change from the run of mirrors. Another lovely mirror, nice chunky sort of scaly one, and God, fought like the clappers again. They've all fought so hard, but they're wearing me out, they really are. But it's lovely to be catching them, you know, a February night, and well, in less than 12 hours I've had 9 fish. Bloody hell. Yeah, incredible fishing, really, it really is. But there's a few hours to go, so I'll get the rod back out and couple more, that might be it, I think. But it's good fun, but God, I'm tired now. Right, let's get back. Well, I'm pretty tired. It was pretty hectic. It got to 10 fish and I just gave up. I reeled in the rods after that. Needed a few hours sleep, so yeah, I've managed a couple of hours anyway. But yeah, 10 fish in February, it's pretty good going. You know, all on the new citrus. I'm well impressed with the new version of it. So and the carp obviously were as well. But it's been lovely to come back here, you know. I had it on my mind for a while to come back on the 50-year anniversary of that first carp and, you know, fish some of the swims that I did all those years ago. And so I've done that and it's been absolutely great, it really has. Seen some of the old faces from years ago and, you know, met some new people and everyone's been really nice, really friendly. So it's been nice to come back. The lakes haven't really changed that much, you know, there's a few less trees about these days and the factories are all new. But otherwise the lakes still look pretty much as they did all those years ago. And DDAPs have done a brilliant job, you know, there's loads of fish in here now to be caught. And yeah, it's a great place and it's been lovely to come back. So, well, that's it for me though, you know, it's time to pack up now. I've done my bit and enjoyed every minute of it, but, you know, I'm going to load up the barrow, get back round to the van, go back to home at Heathrow and yeah, get ready for the next trip I suppose. Yeah, see you next time anyway.